Welcome to Daily Focus. Just a few minutes late. I had a panic moment this morning as this little mic thing that works so nicely, we could not remember where we put it when we got back from traveling. And sometimes when you are unloading and putting everything away, you set them down and you can't remember where. That was the problem. But anyway, we found it, and so we are good to go this morning. I hope that you had a good night's rest, that you're ready for a great Friday. We got a lot of rain this morning, and it was needed, refreshed the grass and the flowers and the trees and all that is necessary. Water is such a vital part of life, and God sends it right on time. And as much as what he thinks we need, and he filled our creek up. God gave us a little bit of a concern to make sure that we don't flood of any sort, but nonetheless, our great God is in charge. Proverbs chapter 24, yesterday we looked at, for the Christian, we just ought not quit. The battle is real against our flesh and against a world that is anti-God, but though we fail from time to time, for the one who desires to walk the path of wisdom needs to just get back up and confess and forsake failure, learn from it, and then grow from it and get back on the path of wisdom to walk in the strength that the Lord gives to us. And so today we're going to look at a couple of other verses, and verse number 17 says, "Rejoice not when thine enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth, lest the Lord see it, and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath from him. Fret not thyself because of evil men, neither be thou envious at the wicked, for there shall be no reward to the evil man. The candle of the wicked shall be put out. My son, fear thou the Lord and the King, and meddle not with them that are given to change, for their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knoweth the ruin of them both?" Verse 21 is kind of a difficult verse to decipher, but wow, is it ever applicable to today. It says that we are to fear the Lord and the King. In other words, here he is bringing us back to there is a right response to authority. There is a right response to morality, or what is right. And he says, and meddle not with them that are given to change. In other words, that word change is in those who are in opposition against authority. Those who stand against authority. He is talking about that moral fiber, that moral standard, that moral compass that guides people down the path of wisdom to the blessing of God. And he's talking about that as proper leadership is there to punish evil and reward good, that as leadership does their job, then everyone seems to flourish. It's very interesting that when you read the Bible, God has given specific plans. He's given specific order. And as we obey God's order, everything is better. When a husband does what God called him to do, the marriage is better. When dad fulfills the role that God has given him to do, the family is better. When pastors do what God has called them to do, the church is better. When presidents and kings and governors do what God called them to do, the nation or the state is better. But when you get one who refuses to do it God's way, refuses to function, everything seems to crumble. But the same thing is when someone is doing what is right, and you have people who come up in opposition or rebellion against what is morally right. And God says, beware of them. People who have no respect for law and order. Don't meddle with them. Because what's going to happen is going to happen suddenly and quickly. And their calamity is going to come. And their destruction is going to be real. and it's going to affect you if you meddle with them. These riots, these uprisings, these anti-police demonstrations, quite frankly, are just a demonstration of who God says, don't you get involved in that. It is really, really disturbing to me that people jump on issues and they they'll put a sign, Christians who will put a Black Lives Matter sign in their yard, but they'll never put a Jesus Saves sign in their yard. And they don't put a Jesus Saves sign in their yard because they don't want to offend their neighbors. They don't want people thinking evil of them or bad of them, but all of a sudden you bring an issue and people just want to side with it. God says, beware of that. You be very careful not to meddle with that. But then I want to go back to the first part of this in verses 17 and 18, where God says, you know what? You're going to have some enemies in life. You're going to have some people that oppose you. You're going to have some people who disagree with you. You're going to have people on the other side of an issue than you. And when their calamity comes, when their destruction comes, don't you celebrate. Don't you gloat. God sees that and it displeases him. When those that we warn and they won't listen to us, when the warning comes to fruition, it's so easy in our flesh and our arrogance and pride to say, see, I told you. God said, don't. It's not about you. It's not about you being right. It's not about that at all. It's about helping people to be godly. It's about helping people get back on the path of wisdom. And so we ought not celebrate when people experience the consequence of sin, when people experience the result of their foolishness. No matter how much we warn them, no matter how much we debated with them, no matter how much we may have argued with them, God says when they stumble, when they fall, don't celebrate, because God sees that and it displeases him. And so we have all of these things going on. God says there is a moral compass, there is a moral right in every scenario of life, and we ought to be promoting that, and that is that path of wisdom. And God says, you just be sure to stay on the path of wisdom, invite people to come, encourage people to come, warn people about the dangers of those other paths and the easy temptation to fall prey to them, but warn and encourage. But when people fall, help them up. Help them up, because they need to get back on the path of wisdom. They don't need to have somebody demonstrating their arrogance. They need somebody to humbly point them back to God and to help them along their way. So let's look for folks today that God may place on our way to help them back up. And let's not be so divided that we want to celebrate someone else's demise. And so I think the Lord will be honored in all of that. I hope you have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing many of you in church on Sunday, and then I'll see all of you back on Monday at 9 o'clock. God bless you.